we all know that this is the only place for entrepreneurial minds for us to grow, for us to make sure we have everything together. Now, today is special because we always talk about potential and what we can do with potential. But today we have an expert, Dr. Kendrick Bailey, who deals with peak potential, who deals with all things process. And he's not only going to talk to us about those things, but he's also going to talk to us about how he became a business owner and emerging from the South. Dr. Bailey, how are you?
How you doing, Ms. Moore? I'm doing great.
I am great. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I didn't want to mess it up. So I said, I'm going to let Dr. Bailey tell them about Dr. Bailey.
All right. So I'm a counselor by trade. So I've been a clinician since about 2009, and I worked in various settings. So worked in a college counseling setting, worked in the VA hospital setting for about 7 years, and in 2017, me and my business partner at the time, went out on our own and started business again, and came up with iProgress. And so we just focus on, being lifelong learners, being people that are always growing. And so those are the things that, I talk about a lot now, is helping people heal, helping people discover their purpose, and helping people become dynamic leaders. I think all of us was created to be great. I think we have to learn who we are as far as our identity, and then why God created us and where area we're supposed to dominate in. And so that kind of fuels what I do now as a consultant and as a clinician. So I do a lot of creating of content and writing curriculum and providing consultation to businesses, for leadership development, but also I still provide clinical therapy for clients to help them in their you know walk with life with trying to engineer to be them being the best version of themselves. So I stay pretty active.
Yes, you are pretty active. So tell me, when you were first starting your business, what was the biggest thing that, or what was the biggest fear that you had to overcome?
uh, so not knowing you know a lot of how to.
Mm.
So, I guess being an entrepreneur is there's no how to manual on, doing a lot of the day to day operations, but also running a successful business and, building your platform and growing your reach every year. So I think, going into business and just getting rid of the imposter within, struggling where will I be successful? Will the business last, or will I have to go back into the 9 to 5 process? Probably was the scariest thing. Going back to the traditional 9 to 5. I didn't want to do that. So for me, it was the fear of not being successful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. And I think we all have that fear. And so sometimes we don't take the leap. And one of the things that you mentioned that I'm pretty passionate about was there was no how to. When I was like talking to God, I was like, God, like, come on. And it was just like, I got to learn this area, got to learn this area. And it's like, yeah, because I'm going to make you the person that gives people the blueprint for the how to. So, for folks that are in that world, they should be going over to iamore.com to check out some of those courses because no one talks to you when you are developing on how to become a chief everything officer until you could hire the right people and understanding the importance of branding outside of them colors because we love our colors, um, but marketing, sales, all of those different things really make or break your business. And recently I was thinking through the idea of like me and what I do, and thinking through how to close the CEO understanding gap
Mhm.
because just like you said, like it just takes so much work and you having to transform in a very different way in order for you to be successful. So you overcame the fear of failure, you overcame imposter syndrome. Let's talk about that because that's a buzzword right now. Like, what was the imposter that you thought was in place?
Well, just I guess fighting the battle of doubt, and that you can run a successful business, and you can balance a lot of the things until it's time to bring on additional people. But I guess the biggest thing that you have what people need and what
Mhm.
people want in the context of changing people's lives and helping them find or discover who they are, and them managing them what they experience on a daily basis, and teaching other people how to be experts on themselves and how to manage the different things that they experience spiritually, relationally, emotionally, physically, financially, and also purposefully, that sometimes blocks them from doing some of the day-to-day things that they believe they can do, but sometimes they struggle with the confidence to do it in the way that they envision it. So how we see things, can we see it, and then can we, put it into action and help other people, gravitate towards what we see or what we do. Those are some of the challenges. And then with just imposter syndrome in general is just you being at a high level, but doubting that you sometimes deserve to be there, or
Mhm.
doubting that you're on a high level, and always seeing yourself lower than how other people may see you. And so just learning to not look through life through the distorted lenses of everyone else, but learning to look at life through your own lens, and being in tune with who God created you to be and what He gave you, changed and allows you to snap out of that imposter syndrome. Sometimes you always got to go back to where it all started. Him creating us and creating us for a perfect purpose is just tapping into it constantly.
Ooh, I love that. Creating us for a perfect purpose and tapping into that. And it's so funny that you were talking about this. I literally was upstairs moments ago just thinking about, like, I really have to get used to being attorney more. And it sounds crazy because like that's the work that I do, but like there is a certain honor that comes with that, and a certain respect that I don't think that I have really like leaned into and settled in.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, no, you are attorney Jamila. Like when people introduce, I'm like, I'm Jamila. No,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are attorney more.
No, I hear you.
And so settling into that and then taking it back to God. And I think one of the things that you're really, and we're going to get into peak potential, one of the things that you're really helping people do, and I don't think that they really understand that, is get a head start on this earlier so that at 35, they're not like, oh, I am attorney Jamila Moore,
Yeah.
right? You start to live in your potential earlier and earlier. And so, your clinician, how did you get into the consulting space? Because sometimes people don't like to pivot from what they know.
So at one point in time, I only wanted to be, a clinician. And again, I think life shifted me to doing consulting
Mhm.
because um, I didn't only want to just be a good counselor or a great counselor, and I didn't want people to just see me, as a counselor, because I retired from the military as a lieutenant colonel, and so I did leadership and logistics in the military, and then I was always focused on changing people's lives and helping people find purpose and being a mentor as a counselor. And once I left the VA, and did a lot of soul searching, it took about 2 years to really figure out, okay, being a good balance of counseling consultant, but really more consultant than anything, because we acquire all these skills throughout our lives and our career. And everybody's a consultant if they know what they're expert in, and if they know
Mhm.
what they have to offer, and then if they know who needs what they have to offer, and then how to maneuver and position themselves to give people that are what they need, and not focus on waiting for people to tell us what they need. We let the Holy Spirit lead us by providing those areas of expertise, because what I want to do. I'm 42. I don't want people to struggle 42 years to figure out this is who I am and this is what I'm supposed to do. My job is to help speed people up and help them get on their path and connect with who they are earlier, so we can help produce more, I guess, conscious and more intentional people in the workplace, but also in the world. And then we can help pay it forward by encouraging others how to get on that path and how to see the answers faster instead of going through the wilderness for long periods of times to gain that experiential learning. So experiential learning is great, but I watch a lot of Pastor Darius Daniels, and he talks about we learn two ways: through instructions or through experience. I've experienced enough in life to know that I want to take the shorter route and gain it through instruction versus experience, and that's part of what my business is. It's helping people bridge gaps, but it's helping them get to where they're trying to be in a shorter time frame. But it's them learning to trust themselves and trust the gift that's within them and tapping into the uniqueness about themselves that allows them to shift, pivot, and accelerate faster than sometimes they envision themselves.
I love that. I love that. And one of the things that you're kind of making me think about is like how sometimes if we trace our steps, there is going to be a wilderness season or period of time, but then not prolonging your life in that period of
Mm.
time. And so, if you could go back to younger Kendrick when you were doing the soul searching, what was some of the things that you did to like get out of that? Because soul searching time to me means wilderness, but
Mm.
it may not to you. How did you come out of that?
By constantly being uncomfortable
Mm,
and in learning to, if I could tell the 20-year-old Kendrick, something, I would have told them, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And um, when you're uncomfortable, that's when you do your most growth versus stay in places of familiarity or stay where you feel you're connected. Because sometimes that's the easy, and sometimes we get stagnant and easy and we stunt our growth. But if we're uncomfortable, we always, got to focus on, becoming better and seeing things clear. And then we learn to be, I guess, ambidextrous to a certain standpoint. We learn not to use, what's comfortable. We always go for what's unfamiliar first, and then that allows us to move forward. I think a lot faster because we're not thinking from a place of what we know. We're thinking from a place of how do I get settled? What I've been here before. This is what I've done in the past to make it work. What can I use from that experience to get me there too? And so surroundings is important, but understanding this too shall pass as far as the anxiety that you feel when you're going through wilderness, it will subside if you get to moving and if you plant your feet and if you stay grounded. And so that's some of the things that I've learned over time, that if my feet are planted, I'm grounded, and the rest will just come. And so just learning on the go and being comfortable with a 70% plan or product, and the learning curve or the pilot phase or the mana season will teach me the other piece. And so I feel like I've gone through several mana seasons where God has given me sustenance, when I didn't have everything. But the manna season wasn't for me to become dependent on what he gave. It was for me to see what he was giving me and learn to make something out of it. And I think that's where I am now with our progress and the things that I've been creating and just how I look at life. Trouble and turbulence, they come, but it's not permanent. And can I sleep through turbulence and struggle? And can I get rest? And so understanding that rest is me just being confident that the Lord will provide an answer for me. I got to be patient. Now, this was one of the hardest things I think in business because you talked about earlier. One of the things that I do, I always tell people to call me Kendrick, and like you said, you tell people to call Jamila. But sometimes when we bring ourselves down, we set ourselves up for attacks from the enemy, and so we got to see ourselves as Dr. Bailey and Miss Moore, how you have your clients direct you, so they always understand to honor the position, but Jamila, the person, is who you're talking to, but you still got to honor the position because it's a lot of responsibility that comes with what you do. And what I do, like you've helped me so much in shifting how I look at business. And I hope we get to talk about that because, sometimes I see myself one way and then you give me, these, I call them lobs or alley oops that make me think at things where I knock down a wall and I don't see a barrier anymore. And sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves or we block ourselves in on how we look at business. So as a counselor or consultant, I used to only could practice in my state, or if I get licensures in other states. But as a consultant, people can get a different version of me, and they can read what I write through books. They can see me on podcasts. They can see me doing leadership training. They can see me doing conflict resolution, but they can see me teaching the courses I created instead of me teaching what somebody else created. And so they can see me doing my own research and presenting on that instead of presenting on other things that other people created. And so I think we're, in a shift in how we do a lot of things. I think there's a shift in the counseling profession because a lot of the things that we used to do, they're 50, 60, 70 years old. And it's time to create new ways because with technology, everything's right in front of us. So because technology gives people information in real time, we got to figure out how to help people change in real time and not take them through 5, 10 years of therapy or 5 or 10 years of them taking, me taking money from them in a different capacity. But how can I help them be the best version of themselves in 6 months to a year? And so that's what I'm looking to do. I'm trying to be more proactive in changing lives instead of reactive, getting people when they're broken or torn. I'm trying to get them when they're full of life and giving them the tools to let them know, hey, on this journey, you're gonna encounter a lot of these things. Try to use some of these resources when you encounter them to see if it softens the blow, to see if it allows you to bounce back and be resilient faster, to see if you can inspire somebody else through your journey to pick the pieces back up.
Yeah, no, you said a lot there, and I think one unpacking like the seasons of manna and then knowing what to do with it, because sometimes people just sit in the part of like groaning and complaining for not having the promise rather than looking at what's provided and making something out of what is provided. So I think that's a huge key that you just dropped. And I think the second one is um you reach your peak potential when you become a serial person who's willing to be uncomfortable, and willing to abandon what you thought you knew and go to the next version of unknown, right? The scary part, right? And so you got to keep having some level of healthy fear to get to that peak, because if not, you're going to get to that plateau and then you're going to wonder shoulda, coulda, woulda. But then you also brought up like things about business, and that's so important because so many entrepreneurs are in the I am community or will be entrepreneurs, so they need to hear about that. So tell me how I helped you, Kendrick.
Well, again, you helped me be official with protecting the investments, that I'm creating, but that I will create. And you showed me, that Peak Potential was a brand, and I can do everything under the umbrella of Peak Potential. I can do everything under the umbrella of our progress, but making sure that everything's trademarked and copyrighted and protecting myself legally. All business owners need a lawyer that's for them, and that doesn't just want to take from them. So I'll say it again. All business owners need lawyers that want to help them and not just want to take from them, because that's great leadership. And so anybody that's leading you in the area is a leader, but you have to make sure they're doing what's best for you and not what's best for them. And so a lot of the guidance and wisdoms you've given me were what's best for me. And again, it helps your business, but you could have made more money getting me to do a different route, but you chose to tell me some things that were best for me and advise me and step out of the lawyer role. But hey, this is what I would do. And then, through those things, you know, you really helped me come up with the name with peak potential, because and I don't think a lot of people know that you do so much in your position as a lawyer. So you've coached me, you've been my legal advisor, you've been a teacher to look at how I package things. And one of the things that I did with peak potential with creating the course, you saying, hey Kendrick, in my former life as a teacher, you need a curriculum, you need a lesson plan to go with this. And so I had to go back to the drawing board and create the lesson plan for the curriculum, which I think was a major, um, you know, um, alley oop to what I was doing, but it allowed the course to not only be for kids, but and it can, educational consultants can buy it, school districts could buy it without me being a consultant, or parents could buy it directly from my website and teach their kids how to have this relational emotional awareness and wellness, and focus on teaching them in their home instead of me having to be everywhere. And so again, peak potential will be a major force in our communities. But again, a large part of it has to do with you seeing what I had to offer and you saying, hey, Kendrick, this is bigger than with how you're looking at it. How about I look at it from this standpoint? And so I like people that make me think. I like people that ask me questions, and I love feedback. And a lot of people don't like those things. But for me, those things help me get a 75 or 80% product into a 95 or 100% product. So if I have to shift and go back and tweak some things, I think that's much better than me putting that product out and it doesn't reach the level of success it would have because I didn't see holes, or I didn't ask myself the tough questions to make sure it was a sound product. So like I said, when people get you, they get more than a lawyer. They get that coach. They're gonna get that teacher. They're gonna get the person that has that eye and that's not afraid to give other people your ideas to make things better.
I'm low key speechless, Dr. K.
Well, like I said, you did all those things for me, so I'm always gonna tell people the truth about the people that help me, because I help a lot of people, and I needed. I was praying about God sending me people to help me, and again, you helped me. You came in the role as a professional and a consultant, but you helped me, and you did things that again, most people, hey, these bill of hours, I'm gonna charge you for everything that I do, and you didn't do that with me, and so I'm appreciative and grateful for that.
Thank you, Dr. K. Thank you. I think one of the things that I do teach people about that when they're starting their businesses, I said, if we're going to be entrepreneurs of faith, of power, of impact, we have to take it from a different lens because one, I truly believe I am working in someone's business as their attorney or business strategist or business coach. That means that I am a part of their assignment. I am a part of their purpose. I am a part of their destiny. That means I'm on assignment from God doing his business. And so I don't take it lightly doing the work of our Father. I think the second thing is the ability to be able to reach more people around the things that really matter to me. Just because I'm not in a classroom does not mean I am not highly concerned about the children in America. especially the ones that don't have choices into what schools and environments that they get to be put into. And I think the third thing is, like you said earlier, I had to come to a place where I stopped hiding and that I was willing to be uncomfortable to do this thing, because becoming a CEO is uncomfortable. It is very cushy.
Oh yeah.
Mentally and emotionally, it is more cushy for you to
Yeah.
go do a 9 to 5. It's just
Yeah.
easier. 10 to 10,
Yes.
whatever it is.
People never know how much work it takes to run a business, because people that got it, they don't understand. Okay, yeah, there's an operating expense, but there's also what I can pay myself as a salary. The business may make me take in $300,000, but it may pay out $250,000, and so my salary may only be $50,000. And so that's just an example that people don't understand when they look at entrepreneurship. Everything that you take in isn't yours. And I know we think about that, in theory, but when you practically start doing, I got to pay this, I got to pay, rent on my building, I got to pay the consultant to do this graphic design. These are investments. My lawyer, these are investments. If I'm traveling, I got to have a reliable vehicle to do it. And so, and then, networking. Sometimes you have to spend money to your network, with people, just to get into the door, to talk to them about the things that you have to offer. And then once you get in the door, you start thinking about the outreach activities that you want to do in business, that to show people that you're doing a great work for, that you appreciate them and you value them, but that you want to be a pillar in the community, and you just don't want to be a consumer that takes, a business that takes from them, but you want to be a business that puts back in the community. When people start factoring all those things in, and you start adding up all those things, like I said, the entrepreneur, this job, being a business owner, is never ending. You're gonna battle a lot of imposter syndrome. You're gonna have a lot of times where you're like, "Am I solid financially? What do I, need to be?" And you have to be a strategist and a forward thinker to see some of the pitfalls or hurdles that you're gonna experience, but also find, how do I jump over this hurdle? How do I go through this hurdle? How do I go around it? Who do I ask for help? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges with entrepreneurs. We're so used to being experts that we don't know who to ask for help. And sometimes that's why businesses fail, is because we don't know how to find other people to take the pressure off of us. And we think that knowing the answers, we wear that like the merit badge, and really you're just setting up yourself to be out of business in 5 years, because at some point you reach burnout and you get exhausted. So being proactive is me thinking, hey, I can see 20 clients every week, or I can see 5 or 10 clients. I can write books, I can create all these documents that once they're out there, they always make money. And look at, bringing off passive money and residual funds from that. Or I can just work for every dollar. And I think working for every dollar in my profession now, I think it's hard to continue and sustain. And so everything that I want to be, I just started trying to find a way to do it. And then the first time I did a podcast, I was so scared and nervous. But the more you share your story, you forget that you being interviewed, and you just focus on telling people the truth about your journey, and about what God has placed in your life and in your heart, and then hoping people will see the vision, the purpose, and the mission behind what you do. And something they want to help you, or they want to send other people to you to help you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, so rich, so rich. Even in just sharing your experience and sharing your insight. And so we know you are climbing to your peak potential. But talk to me about how you even came up with the brainchild for peak potential, and where do you see that portion of your business going?
Okay. Well, I was doing something me and my old business partner used to talk about mind mapping all the time. We'll just get on a whiteboard and we'll just start writing down names. And so I just got in a Word document and I just started typing out names of what I envisioned the curriculum was. And once I came up with about 25 or 30 names, and you were one of the people I sent the names to. I started sending the names to like what I call my community. I think the people that God placed around me, and I was asking for feedback. I was like, I'm trying to come up with a name for the curriculum. I wanted something that's gonna catch people's attention and make them want to gravitate toward it and say, "Hey, I want this." And this I thought I had some really good names. I thought I had some out there names, but I finally got it down to like three names, and I had everybody vote on it, and I sent them to you, and you was like, I think this is the top one. And then what most people don't know, but people that close to me know, you get the credit for the defining piece in peak potential, because I just had peak potential is just two words. You know, can you? It needs to be more distinguishable, and so we put a hype. We put a quote, not a quote, but a simple. What do we put? An asterisk in between, right behind potent, and then separated, and then put IL for potential, and then discovering the best version of yourself. And everybody, that sees like, what does the potent right here mean? And I was like, and when I told people the story, it was like, well, I thought it was gonna be more profound. And then I was like, my lawyer was like, this was probably the best thing to catch people's eyes, but also it will help us through the process of copyright and trademark. And but then when the guy told me his piece, I started adding it to my spiel. He was like, man, peak potent. So it's like you're getting people ready to do or the things that you're teaching them is gonna help them be potent and reach their potential. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I didn't share that part with you, but that's what I was thinking too. Because when I was looking at it, I was just like, ah. And you brought up something that's so important. And one of the things that I'm trying to get people to really become aware of is the idea of naming, right? And naming is such a big deal because one, when you are naming things, you have to make sure that you are not infringing upon someone else's rights. And so literally I was looking at this woman and she's doing an Instagram ad and she's like, I'm doing the sales blueprint. I was like, let me go and see. Sales blueprint is trademarked, has been for years. So you just created a name that is owned by someone else. And so they can come after you for the money that you make. So that naming piece is important. And then you just want to make sure, like you said, it's distinct. And being creative and thinking beyond the box. And I really love doing that for businesses. You see the excitement now. So I think that's part of it. And I just want to impress that upon every listener. Like every time you come up with a name for something that's going to bring you income, it has to be trademarked. Whether it's in a presentation, whether it's the name of a presentation, whatever that name is, you want to trademark it, especially with all the things happening. But that's for another episode. But
yeah. You're absolutely right, because as a business owner, you want to protect what you have. And then unfortunately, sometimes people want to take what you have. And so having that added level of protection with trademark and copyright, I think is really good. Again, yeah, you're gonna spend some money, but again, everything you're doing for your business is an investment. So you're investing in something that you're gonna have lifelong. And so it's worth, to me, it's worth every penny, that I paid, because I've been in rooms where people have seen what I was doing with peak potential, and they wanted peak potential, and I had to let them know that I own peak potential, and to make sure that don't try to take something that's mine, because one of the things that I believe, God gave all of us something great, and we got to tap into what we got to do and figure it out. But I'm not going to take something that somebody else owns. And even if I share a message on social media and somebody else said it, I give them credit and tell people who I quoted, or who said it, because I just believe in people knowing what's someone else's, but what's mine. And so, again, it's enough out there for all of us. I want to encourage people to find where where their market is, and then just plant their feet and start to work. But definitely get the business side right before you go too fast, because you don't want to be doing things the wrong way, and got to take a break and pause, and then fix everything to get back started. So it's better to have the foundation solid at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, so true. And on your entrepreneurial journey, clinician, consulting, coaching, courses, all of that, what has been the biggest or the most shocking thing that's happened on your journey?
That's a good question. I, I I guess I would say my I was shocked at my ability and appetite to want to write and create more, because I
Mhm.
never thought of myself as a creator. And like I said, I have to give a lot of credit to me, you know, being a creator, more to my old business partner, because that's not something I didn't think from that side of my brain at first. But he was a person that I always talked about, creating. And I start once I start creating, I just love to do it from that point. And then how I create, I do my portion when it comes to creating, and then I like to pass it off to someone else to finish the product. So with me, with business and how I want to work with other small businesses, instead of me employing people like they work for me, I just, contract things out to other people, to other entrepreneurs, and use other consultants or entrepreneurs to do work for me now. And so it's it's like having employees without having to manage employees. So you're pouring into other businesses, but at the same time, it allows you as far as you can take it, and then pass it off, and then trust the expert to do the rest. And that's been a rewarding experience for me. In the past, when I first started out as a leader, especially in the military, I thought that being a great leader meant that I had all the answers, and I had to show people that I was good enough. And I unlearned that thought process back in like 2012 and 13 as a company commander, for logistics. My boss told me, Kendrick, I'm not going to give you any more until you learn to delegate. And I was running a very successful company at the time, managing what somebody else gave me. But what I realized, and what he was telling me, you got to train everybody else to do the work that you've been doing, so they can replace you, so you don't wear yourself out, and then you continue to rise in life, but also in the military. And so, you know, that person was a really great, leader and advisor and mentor to me. And I always reference that statement because it was an aha moment for me, and it changed my life and how I just looked at leading, but also learning to trust people with the risk. Sometimes there's a trauma response in therapy that we want to hoard what we have, and we want everybody to see that we're the reason for everything to be successful. And in reality, somebody always helps us get to the top, and we can't hoard certain things, because hoarding will stunt the growth at some process. When you're not afraid to train people, to show them how you got to where you are, and help them get to that next step, that's a great release and a great reward, because you've gotten to the point where you trust the system and you trust the process, but you understand no one can steal what you freely give. And so that, to me, sometimes protection can looks like oppression, because the things we try to protect can be the thing that oppresses us the most. And if the business is something that I'm birthing into the world, and I'm vulnerable, and I'm exposed, and I'm giving everything of myself, I got to understand that I need partnerships. I need allies. I need people to really understand how everything works, because they're going to speak my name in places that I'm not in. And then that allows me to get in the room. So when people hear I progress and they hear about peak potential, they're going to know this is something that's transformative and that we need it to help shift how we think and help us understand that what happened to us and what we experience is a piece of our life, but it doesn't define who we are. What we experience transforms us instead of defines us. And so defines us as we become a victim of it. Transforming us as we see that that was just a piece to help us, get through a challenging time. But then that challenging time teaches us how to win wherever we go. And it doesn't mean that you won't struggle, but winning is never giving up and withstanding or overcoming the hurdles. And so again, you're gonna take some losses in business, but your business isn't defined as a failure or a success because you lose something. Can you get it back and can you learn from the loss? Determines how much you win.
Ooh, man, Dr. Kendrick, you have given us so much. So much. Wow. I'm gonna have to watch this one back a few times. Even as you just broke down so many nuances. I know you have peak potential for the kids, but get ready to get peak potential for us adults, okay? Because even just thinking through like your leadership style and finding the trauma in your leadership style. I'll call you later about that, Doctor.
Yeah, and like I said, but really, again, everything that I'm doing is the process that I went through to learn how to be the unique version of me, and is millions of people that could benefit from it because sharing the real stories of struggles and what got me to the point of winning is important. And so I don't want people to think that, I think one of the things that kids graduating college now don't, fair to kind of really look at is they think winning and success is overnight. And if you win fast, you're going to experience some hurdles where you lose. So those people that win fast, we got to prepare them to lose at some point, but they, help them understand that losing shouldn't make them quit. It's just a learning curve. And so that's the only thing. Fast says we gotta, a person that never dealt with, failure or losses, those are the ones that fall the hardest, because they don't have the experiential learning on how to get back up. And so people that come from very, I guess, humble beginnings understand it a little bit better. And so you got to look at business as humble beginnings. Hardly any businesses, start out day one and reach the pinnacle. And if they do, it's a lot of pressure staying at the top. And so you got to, once you get to the top, you got to maintain it. And so that's why we can't define ourselves by the highs and lows, because business is going to be stages of highs and lows. And I was reading this book, Profit First, and it talked about about how a lot of businesses are a couple of months away from being failing, and but it's because of how we look at the financial aspect of our business. And sometimes we take all the profits and we don't take a piece of the profit and always save it and store it away and never touch it and look at that as like retirement, or like our 401ks. Like when we typically get that, we don't ever touch it, and it's just investment that we pile away till we retire. But as entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't look at it that way. Everything we make, we want to keep, and that's just not realistic to have longevity as an entrepreneur, and to overcome burnout.
Well, we heard it here first. Or maybe not. Dr. Kendrick Bailey, eye progress, peak potential, clinician, counselor, consultant. I think, one day we'll be remembering like, these times and these moments when, curriculums across the country have included peak potential in it because it's something that our kids need. And I'm claiming it for myself, it's something that we need. Any last thought on living out your peak potential and how these entrepreneurial minds can journey to more?
Uh, Definitely, as an entrepreneur, find you a community of partners that keep you accountable, but ask you the tough questions and that make you think. Also, stay in environments that help you become uncomfortable, and try new things. Be coachable. Be able to handle the tough answers, and not look for people to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. And um, make sure we practice what we're preaching. And so if we're sharing all this knowledge and information, make sure we're using it, to help our communities, um, to pay it forward, but to help all the people to see that they can be everything and more just like us, because they have a vision. And once they discover who they are and they tap into that unique person, and they just got to trust God with that plan, and allow him to place them strategically in the rooms that they need to be in, and then just let their light shine. So like today, I'm Lord strategically placed me in the podcast, and I didn't even know what I was going to say today. And we just got to let the light that God placed inside of us shine uniquely, and be a beacon of light and hope to other people. And then, the things that we're trying to do, they'll be successful as long as we can, deal with the turbulence.
As long as we could deal with the turbulence. Y'all, go ahead, connect with Dr. Bailey, iprogress.cc, or on LinkedIn at Kendrick Bailey. You all know how to connect with me. You can visit me at iamandmore.com or simply go to linktree /jmore. I am. Y'all, let's go. Let's get to our peak potential. See you next time.